Hey, good evening, everyone. We'll keep the meeting back in session at 6:08 p.m. I'd like to humbly acknowledge that the land we live, learn, work, and play is Treaty 8 territory, traditional lands of Korean Dene, unceded territory of the Métis people. We have no councillors online this evening. If anyone in attendance wishes to address council on any of the items on the agenda, please see the Legislative Services desk to my right, and make sure you register prior to the start of that item. You'll have 5 minutes to present and remain seated for questions following that. Before we adopt the agenda, does anyone wish to serve notice motion? Councillor Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a couple. First one is I, Councillor S. Weigel, serve notice of my intent to bring forward the following motion for council's consideration at the July 8th, 2025 council meeting, that administration bring forward recommendations concerning remuneration for members of council, including considerations for per diem for councillors attending council meetings and council appointed committee meetings based on the most recent third-party consultant review. My second motion is revitalization incentive program for waterways Beacon Hill and Gregoire. I, Councillor Stu Weigel, serve notice of motion of my intent to bring, serve my intent to bring forward the following motion for council's consideration at the July 8th, 2025 council meeting, that administration develop a revitalization program for waterways Beacon Hill and Gregoire based on the downtown revitalization incentive program and bring it back to council in September. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Weigel. And for information, we do have Councillor Ball online. Thanks, Councillor Ball. Do we have any notice of motion? Councillor Cardinal.
Thanks, Mayor. Hope everybody's having a good evening. First motion I'd like to present is I, Councillor Kendra Cardinal, serve notice of my intent to bring forward the following motion for council's consideration at the July 8th, 2025 council meeting. That administration be directed to research the feasibility of establishing a winter road advisory committee and bring forward a recommendation for council's consideration. Thank you. Secondly, second motion, I, Councillor Kendra Cardinal, serve notice of my intent to bring forward the following motion for council's consideration at the July 8th, 2025 council meeting, that administration be directed to conduct a feasibility study regarding an erection of a 40 to 50 foot statue at Monument Hill in Fort Chipewyan that signifies and commemorates the rich history and cultural heritage of the community. Third motion, I, Councillor Kendra Cardinal, serve notice of my intent to bring forward the following motion for council's consideration at the July 8th, 2025 council meeting, that administration work with the three nations in Fort Chipewyan to find a resource to work together to supply proper lighting for boating navigation to and through capital budget amendment. Oh, where am I here? Sorry. Please be patient with me. I got a few papers here. I think I have one more. It's my fourth motion. I think I have one more besides this. If you don't mind giving me a hand there, bud. I, Councillor Kendra Cardinal, serve notice of my intent to bring forward the following motion for council's consideration at the July 8th, 2025 council meeting. That council directs the ICAO to exercise the RMWB's membership rights in the Wood Buffalo Economic Development Corporation and execute a written resolution. Execute a written special resolution of the member directing the board of directors to begin the process of winding down the corporation.
Are there any other notice of motion? Can I have someone make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Councillor Cardinal, you had an amendment.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to move item 9.5 from the consent agenda, please.
It's not on the consent agenda. You want to take 9.5 off the agenda?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Can someone make the motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Councillor Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to adopt the agenda as amended.
Do we have Yeah, it was kind of backwards. So then we'll call for a vote. And Councillor Ball's in favor. Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Moving on to consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Can I have someone make that motion? Councillor Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that recommendations contained in items 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, 6.6, and 6.7 be approved.
And thanks for a second, Councillor Bujoko. And we'll call for a vote. Councillor Ball is in favor. Thank you.
In favor.
Seeing the first item on the is to address the National Injury Prevention Day proclamation. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas this year marks the 9th annual National Injury Prevention Day in Canada, and whereas this observance raises awareness of the importance of the injury prevention and the goal of keeping people alive, healthy, keep helping people live healthy lives through education and advocacy. Whereas most injuries are predictable and preventable, and we all have a responsibility in reducing and eliminating serious injuries at home, at work, in play, and on the road. Whereas injury is the leading cause of death for Canadians under the age of 45, impacting families, friends, loved ones, and communities. Whereas the Region Municipality of Buffalo recognizes and supports the work of people and organizations in the region dedicated to preventing injuries and promoting health, well-being, and safety. Therefore, I, Sandy Bowman, Mayor of the Region Municipality of Buffalo, hereby proclaim July 7th, 2025 as National Injury Prevention Day. Moving on to presentations, we have Bryce Kumka, Wood Buffalo Development Advisory Committee, to provide the annual report. So I'd like to invite Bryce to present, please.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I really just came for the free bottle of water, but I'll give you an update from the committee as well. Just like to thank Mayor and Council for having us this evening to provide you with an update from our committee. We really enjoy the work that we do. And before I begin, I'd like to thank all of the people that make our committee work and function very well. We've had a couple of people that have moved on from administrative support for the committee. Heather got to bump up to the 7th floor to work with the mayor's office, which is fantastic. And just recently, Kevin Meacher, who's been our support person for the last probably 2 years now, has been moving on to a new position as well. And they've been wonderful in their support. I also wanted to thank Amanda Owens and such for all the support that they give us from planning and development, and Elliot White and his department, and Mason, who attend our meetings and provide us with great feedback in a live environment, which is fantastic. So we couldn't do what we do without all of the support that administration provides to us. I think we ask some challenging questions from time to time, but they're always up for providing us with good feedback in a timely fashion. So a big thank you to them and all the support that we receive. So that being said, we just wanted to move on and just give you an update. Do I click or space bar or what do I do here? Oh, there we go. Just wanted to talk about committee mandate. Our committee's been running for a fairly long period of time. We have a significant mandate that was put into our original bylaw. We actually have 9 different items that were put into there, and And the interesting thing about our committee is that it predates the Economic Development Corporation and predates the Downtown Revitalization Committee. It predates Waterfront. It predates the Business Committee. So a lot of the mandates that are enrolled into ours are now being taken up by other groups. So one of the things that we wanted to do, and we've done effectively on an annual basis, is go through our bylaw and then refocus our priorities so that we're not duplicating what other groups are within the region. So it's, I went the wrong way there. There we go. So one of the things that we did in our priority setting for this year was continue to focus on red tape reduction and supporting the economic recovery of the region, and promoting private sector development. A lot of that goes with working with the Economic Development Corporation, having a lot of discussions about things that they're doing and understanding also what other jurisdictions are effectively doing to attract and retain business. We had some incredible discussions with Wheatland County and their big wins with Wallboard and de Havilland, and the way that they were able to do that, working with the developers to provide housing opportunity, development-ready zoning, infrastructure, municipal services like water, were all things that they've done very effectively. So trying to work that into what we're doing. One of the continuing to support economic development in their process review and implementation and monitoring of that process. It's an ongoing item that's been in place for about 3 years now, and I think almost all of the items have been implemented and are now showing some good results, and so getting a lot of positive feedback from the users of planning and development. One of the things that we encountered when we started the process of the development review process was there was a lot of anecdotal complaints about planning and development not being effective and being difficult to deal with. And I think a lot of that, I call it noise at the time, but a lot of it is diminished, and we don't hear that same kind of anecdotal, repetitive commentary around them. It's more positive about them being inclusive and customer service focused. So I think they've really done a great job of implementing positive change there. We can't take much credit for that because they're the ones that are doing it, but we are there to help them along if they need any feedback from us. One of the things that we wanted to continue to provide advocacy on, and we did some letter writing this year, was on Highway 686, the development of the road west. Our specific ask of the minister was to start construction and design from both ends, not just from the west to east, in an attempt to speed up the implementation of that project. And then our last big item for this year, which will commence in the fall, is supply chain and procurement discussions with the RMWB administration. Okay, so I kind of already dealt with these items, which are the reduction of red tape and improvements in planning and development. I get ahead of myself when I talk about these, but so we'll click through those. One of the things that we've done a fair bit is supporting initiatives and in the way of presentations to council and letters of support. I think it's important when there's a bylaw that's good and supports our mandate within our bylaw, it's just to support it publicly as the committee. So we've had many discussions and provided these letters of support. I believe there's been a total of 10 different letters of support and presentations that we've done as a committee to reinforce items that are specifically important to moving the community forward. There's a big long list of them here. And then the big thing is, has been the supply chain management is part of the things that we want to continue to work on. So that's pretty much it. I turned it off somehow, but yeah. So the big thing has been working within our very vast mandate of our bylaw, but trying to create some focus. And the committee is currently engaged in a 2-part strategic planning process, bringing in the new members of our committee to receive their input on what the items that are important to them. We've got a fairly diverse, both by ethnicity and gender, vocation within the committee structure, which I think brings a lot of good discussions within our group. So I think it's been a productive endeavor for the members of the committee, and I think it's been an honor to be able to chair it and see some good positive results coming from the work that not just myself but the whole group does. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer or address them.
Thanks, Bryce. I just want to say first, thanks for acknowledging the hard work that our RMWB staff put in on these things and push initiatives through. That goes a long way. And we all want small local business to thrive in this community and its organizations and committees like the one you're on here that get those ideas to staff to make those things happen. So thanks for everything you do. We know there's still lots of work to be done, but hopefully you're not going anywhere, and we'll keep on trucking.
No, I don't have any intent to leave. I don't think my wife will let me. She
Perfect.
chased me down the highway and make me come back. So,
Councillor Cardinal?
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Bryce, for your in-depth presentation. How are you determining Phase 3 downtown? I kind of wanted to.
I think the action plan is coming together nicely. I think we've seen a lot of positive results out of the DRIP program. Now there's some bigger challenges that are coming our way if we have some major tenants that decide to relocate their locations to other parts of the community. I mean, there's been no official announcements to that effect, but it's anticipated that we may have some changes in the makeup. So it's how do we then re-envision those spaces, and how do we attract other businesses, perhaps smaller ones, to take up that square footage. I mean, economic development has continued to show us, and even with my time at the chamber 15 years ago, we've been consistently short about 1 million square feet of retail space. So if we've got some major relocations or new construction that brings a lot of square footage to the market, there should be pent-up demand to absorb that fairly effectively, and I think that might actually invigorate the downtown even more than having a very large tenant. Smaller tenants they attract more customers than a large tenant like Walmart or Canadian Tire, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess thanks, Bryce. That's kind of my next question was is there any push to move up there with the economic development of the community?
Well, I think there's been a lot of groundwork that's been done by the economic development corporations with respect to their investment in attending the shopping center shows. I don't know what they're called, but there's an event that they've been attending for a number of years, and that's what attracts and shows the retailers that we have a demographic that's attractive as far as our income levels, our age. That this is a market that they want to be in and invest in. So I think that needs to be continuously supported in order for us to attract and retain it. We're still not very well known in Fort McMurray as far as what we've actually got here. I think it's a big job to continue to promote that, and I think there's still work to be done in that area.
How about green spaces? Do you guys work with green spaces at all?
Not specifically. I'm a fan of them personally. I chaired the Plan B committee for the SEC lands of the arena project that resulted in Keegan Park. That was in the report as a good way to preserve the land and use it for good purpose. There's always a challenge in our community because we're constrained by the fact that we don't control our own land. We don't have a buffer, unlike Edmonton, Calgary, that have rural municipalities that surround them, and it's predominantly agricultural land which can be acquired at a reasonable price. We're constrained by oil sands leases or crown lands, so we don't have access to significant tracts of land, and it goes back to a discussion that's a decade old now with the the urban development subregion, or the UDSR, which was a proposal to transfer a significant amount of land surrounding the urban service area to allow for expansion in all directions. And I think that's really gone by the wayside because of things like the fire and the flood. We all got distracted for a few years, for good reason. But now I think those discussions need to be brought back to the forefront, so we're ready for the next, expansion of our resource economy. Because by no means, I think, are we finished with that.
So support from our mayor and council with the oil leases from industry, and try to.
Well, the groundwork's already been done by the province to repeal the oil sands leases that abutted the urban service area. Like 15 years ago, that process was done. There were oil sands leases under the airport. There were oil sands leases on the other side of the river. They were right cuddled up against what we call the urban service area now. So urban expansion was impossible. And that's what really constrained us during the last boom, was an inability to put any kind of sizable or serviceable land on the market.
How about a breakdown? Like, this is a little too much for you, I think. Breakdown per ward of, engagements per development advisory committee, in like wards, communities. What's their take on communications with your guys' organization? All right.
We've had a request and a I don't know how else to put it, but like a push to have more. Like we have urban and rural positions on the committee, but we've really struggled with finding members that are willing to participate in the committee. And when we met with the last 3 years with the legislative services people in the recruitment process, there was a emphasis put on trying to recruit some rural members of the committee. Unfortunately, we haven't been successful in that regard. One of the things that we tried to do as well was highlight that there's a reimbursement of expenses provision within committee work, where we pay for reasonable travel costs and so forth, so that people, when they're coming in from the rural areas, that they're not doing that at their expense. But we really haven't been successful in getting that. It's easy to get people from Fort McMurray to attend the committee. Oh, well, that's not even 100% true. A lot of them like to come in by teams. But, as far as I like to see people, that would be nice. That's my preference. But it's, perhaps some of the rural councillors could assist in that regard to see if there's members of their constituency that would be willing to participate. We'd love to have more diversity of geography, because we don't have any right now. Everyone's from the urban service area. We have Councillor Weigel that joins us from the far off land of Sapray Creek, but other than that, it's pretty much an urban representation, which is unfortunate.
How about down towards Draper? Is that an option to start developing through your committee?
I mean, that's more of a functional challenge with respect to planning, zoning, flood mitigation. Like, there's a bunch of components in that one. That's kind of kicking a hornet's nest when it comes to development in that part of the world. But it's a tough spot. We live in a river valley. We're constrained in the lower town site by geography. We have some challenges from a geotechnical perspective with the hillsides. There's land that could be developed south and north, but that takes some effort and endeavor to do so.
I appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Dogar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Kumka. Nice presentation, and thank you for coming over and helping the community. What I read from the presentation and what I hear is that most of the work of the municipality is done by your committee. Reduce red tapeism, monitoring process, Highway 686, procurement discussions. So seeing all these things, and so first my question is, what is the composition of your committee and any expertise involved in it? It wants the expertise of 2-3 directorates. And next, my question within the same framework is have you ever recommended something which was accepted and materialized? Any achievement that you have done it? Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Duggar, the composition of the committee is outlined in the bylaw. There's a call for specific areas like education, social housing, business, community at large, rural, indigenous, are all there and representative. And we've done our best to try and recruit members from those different areas. We've had some success depending on the specific positions. We've always had enough committee members to do the work. As far as like performance, like things that we've actually accomplished, I think the biggest one would be the planning and development review process, the implementation and monitoring of that process. We get a quarterly report from planning and development with respect to the items that they've actually accomplished, and then as far as their process review changes. So I think that would be the most effective as far as net benefit to the residents of the region. Next to that, I think it would be our advocacy work for 686 and then the support of the various initiatives. We've invested a lot of time working with planning and development on the municipal development plan process from draft 2.5 years ago right through to being presented to council and approved through various revisions, as well as the flood mitigation work for Reach 6. Members of our committee have been involved in that as well. I think for the most part, what the purpose of the committee is, from my perspective, is it's a sounding board for things that are coming through the development process on the bylaw side of things. So if there's something like the food truck bylaw or the downtown revitalization incentive program, as that's been revised, those are things that have been brought forward to us to take a look at and provide comments and feedback before final iterations of those bylaws come back. And our committee by structure and nature is fairly representative of the community. It's not perfect. I mean, it could always be more representative, but I think it's reasonably representative of the residents. So it's I think that process, the ability for administration to bring forward something like the tax incentive bylaw to have a quick second look before it goes to council. A lot of those items are things that we've been involved in the process of. I think it allows for some good low risk feedback from a fairly broadly based group of committee members that are dedicated to the success of the region.
Thank you. How do you involve this partnership with Indigenous people?
The mandate doesn't specifically reference Indigenous specifically, but by nature of the region, that's part of the whole process. So there's always reflection of the impact, and we ask a lot of questions of planning and development on a regular basis of is it inclusive of rural and Indigenous groups as well as the urban service area? What are the impacts? What are the effects? And it's part of the consultation process from our perspective. Is there specific initiatives in our bylaw with respect to that? No, but is it part of the discussion process? I would say yes.
You also carry out certain liaison with MLAs. How did you see their partnership or their attitude?
Sorry, through the chair, I didn't understand that. What was the acronym?
You carry out certain liaison coordination with MLAs, a member of legislative assemblies. How do you find their attitude?
Oh, the MLAs.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, we've also worked with, as part of our process, we did a fair bit of work with MLA Yao on his Northern Development Review process. He did 2 different presentations and consultations with us in the process of getting information for his report on economic development and service. We haven't had any specific discussions with Minister Jean specifically, but we have been in contact with his office with respect to 686 and land release. So we haven't had an audience with Minister Jean, but we have had discussions and correspondence with his office. It's challenging to meet with the minister. Their schedules are difficult, and we have a set meeting date on the first Wednesday of the month. So it doesn't always align with them. Unfortunately, it's probably the worst date we could have as far as corresponding with the MLAs, because that's their caucus meeting, is that at the same time as our meeting. So it's a bit of a challenge from that perspective.
Councilor Benjoko?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Thank you, Mr. Komka. Mine is a quick question regarding supply chain management discussions. I know it's under your 2025 Imagine issues. So is there any quick win or anything you can share in terms of supporting locals and the indigenous businesses? Or if it's at the infant stage, then you can just we can discuss later. No problem.
Through the chair to Councillor Benjoko, we haven't started the discussions. It was on our schedule of discussion items for the spring, okay. But respectfully, the department asked us to delay until the fall, as the construction season is their primary focus during the summer months. So we afforded them the courtesy of delaying until they have the time and resources to do that. As far as what the committee's ideas are on the benefit of local Indigenous business, I think there's always some abilities and ways to design tenders in a way that they provide reasonable competitive advantage for local and Indigenous business. We always have to be cognizant and work within the various partnerships agreements that are in place. But I think there's ways that we can provide reasonable opportunities for our local tax-paying resident businesses. We just need to work through that as a committee and a community, and I think there's always a way to figure it out. So that's our goal for the fall.
Okay.
Into the spring would be to have those discussions. We've gone through the process as a committee of having the presentations on what all the partnership agreements are and how they function and how they overlay, because it's fairly complicated. I wish it wasn't so complicated, but it is, unfortunately. So now we know what the ground level or the foundation looks like, and now we just need to build the house.
Okay.
We'll figure that out.
Okay, and thanks again for all you do. Thank you.
Thanks, Bryce.
Thank you.
Move on now to into public hearing for bylaw 25/017, land use bylaw text amendment to the GD Gateway District. Before declaring public hearing open, I have a quick overview of the process. I'll declare the public hearing open, followed by introduction of the item by administration, and then questions from council. Following that, we'll hear from the opening statement from the applicant, then move into written submissions and hear verbal submissions from any speakers present, followed by questions from council again. To conclude, we hear closing statements, and the hearing will be declared closed. I hereby declare the public hearing opened at 6:42 p.m. So I'd like to invite Planning Development to provide an introduction, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, my name is Amanda Owens, Director of Planning and Development Services, and with me is Such Chanjuk, Manager of Development Planning, and Ermias, Supervisor of Development Planning as well. We are here to present a proposed land use bylaw amendment specific to Lot 7, Block 1, Plan 252-0897 on behalf of an applicant. The subject property is located in Quarry Ridge along Highway 63 near the Mackenzie Boulevard intersection and closest to the new Tim Hortons and Petro-Canada for reference. The applicant, CASA Mental Health, is requesting an amendment to Land Use Bylaw number 99059 to allow a youth assessment center as a specific site-specific permitted use within the Gateway District. The proposed youth assessment center would provide mental health care services for adolescents between 12 and 18 years old. The facility includes a day program for structured outpatient care and a live-in program offering intensive therapy and support for youth who require longer-term treatment in the region. While the current zoning allows for medical clinics and personal service facilities, it is intended for vehicle-oriented commercial retail developments, such as gas stations, restaurants, and liquor stores. The area is not designed to accommodate institutional uses, especially those that provide long-term care for vulnerable populations, and furthermore, use is not allowed in the current zoning, which is Gateway District. The proposed LUB amendment was circulated to internal departments, external stakeholders, and nearby property owners within 300 meters. No concerns were received. The applicant also hosted a public open house on May 9th, and no concerns were received. In reviewing their application, this evening administration recommends that instead of adding the Youth Assessment Center as a site-specific permitted use within the existing Gateway District zone, the subject property should instead be redesignated to Public Service District, adding a Youth Assessment Center as a Youth Assessment Center be added to the Public Service District as a site-specific discretionary use. Administration is recommending this approach because, firstly, the Public Services District is specifically designed to responsibly accommodate institutional developments such as a Youth Assessment Center. Secondly, the newly approved Land Use Bylaw 26001 that comes into effect January 1st of 2026 no longer has a Gateway District, and therefore any amendments to the current district this evening would expire on December 31st of 2025 with the adoption of the new Land Use Bylaw. Lastly, given the proximity of highway commercial uses, allowing a youth assessment center as a discretionary use gives the RMWB the ability to assess compatibility and only approve uses that fit the intention of the district in and around the youth assessment center and are appropriate near this facility. Administration's recommendation this evening supports safe and orderly development and aligns with the municipal development plan and council's strategic plan to enhance community health services. This concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Council, any questions in relation to this? Councilor Cardinal?
Thanks for the presentation. Is there a building there?
Through the chair to the question, no, currently it's vacant land. This is for a proposed facility.
How many blocks away is the liquor store?
Right now, there's no liquor store that exists on the site, but the zoning that is there today would contemplate and allow for it. It's a permitted use. So this evening, administration is recommending that we ensure that we're providing some safety measures and not allowing for those type of uses in and around the facility.
Has our administration taken into consideration about solitude and isolation from the actual incentive of what the program, mental health program, would encompass, I guess? Because I think that right in the heart of Fort Mac, we need to have some place where there's a place, a safe space for them instead of right downtown where we rock and roll with all the illicit stuff that's going down in this community. So I think that we can find a different avenue for success for this place, but I don't think it's a great idea myself.
Through the chair to the question and such, you might have some additional information to add, or Amias. We've also contemplated what that looks like. It is a large-scale facility, and we looked at other communities within Alberta, and it is typical for them to be located off of highway areas or in and around commercial areas. It's not necessarily a neighborhood type of use. When we were talking to a couple of proponents, our understanding is the proximity to the trail network there is an asset to that site. And it's our understanding that they have considered the area and what it has access to as a benefit to the facility itself because it's a larger scale. So we're not talking about a smaller neighborhood type of facility. And then again, the proximity to the trails is an added value to it.
Also, consideration, I guess, for flood mitigation is there too, right? So, have we actually looked at a different location that we could accommodate?
Through the chair to the question, there are a number of sites that administration has reviewed, like for our own purpose. But one thing to keep in mind is that this land, it's not in the floodplain, but it also is privately owned land. From our understanding, it has been donated to the Casa Mental Health facility, and it's something that they've taken into consideration for their financials.
Thank you.
Councillor Dogar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Madam, for the nice presentation. This land is located close to Tim Horton. There's already, you see, that treatment center, drug treatment center there. Is it close by that?
Through the chair to the question, that's correct. There is a facility just, I guess it would be north of the Tim Hortons that is there. We're talking the opposite direction.
And towards the Home Depot, where is constructed?
In that stretch of land, that's correct. It's a long, narrow stretch of land.
So Home Depot land, that is municipality land given to them, or they bought it, or private land?
Through the chair to the question, that's privately held land sold. It's not, the municipality has nothing to do with that site.
Okay, now this land that is under discussion, that belongs to now presently with municipality?
Through the chair to the question, no, that's privately held land that the municipality does not own.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Councillor Banjoko?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Thank you for the presentation. I certainly like the idea of having this youth center in our community. I've done a few research about CASA in Abada. So when you say we make some amendments to the current bylaw to make it public use with a clause to have discretionary use for the to have a youth center there. So how does that affect the ask or the plan of the applicants?
Through the chair to the question, such feel free to jump in here as well. In terms of the application itself, the use for this center would be a discretionary use. As administration, our team has reviewed much of the information that's been submitted to date. We're here this evening to facilitate the development of this facility on that site. So it's our intention, as we say right now, to see that facility there.
Okay, that they can, your recommendation is that they would move forward, but they were asking for a change in the bylaw. And the change that you are recommending is slightly different, right? But this would not slow down the project or affect it in any negative way?
Through the chair to the question, it wouldn't slow it down because either way, a land use bylaw amendment is required this evening to facilitate it. The applicant is looking to keep the existing zoning there, but to add this facility as a permitted use.
Okay.
As administration, we feel that a commercial zone is not appropriate for this type of facility because it takes away some of our decision-making ability in terms of other uses that might be located next to this site.
Okay.
In a commercial district, you could see liquor stores, for example. We want to have some level of decision-making on that site and ensure that the adjacent uses are compatible with the type of sensitive development that would be going on that lot.
Yes. And okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Banjoko. Councilor Cardinal?
Thanks, Mayor. If a kid comes out and, you know, you have drug use happening right across the street, and a young kid that's struggling with alcohol and drugs, you know, is triggered by something like that, I think it's really, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but I hope that we could find a different spot, maybe down Draper, that's some.
What's the question, Councillor Dover?
Okay.
Councillor Cardinal?
Okay, no, I don't.
Thanks. Do you have any other questions for administration? I'm not seeing any. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Hutch. Thank you. Next, we'll move into comments from the applicants. I'd like to invite Casa House to come forward. Whenever you're ready.
Good evening.
Whenever you're ready, guys. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having us. My name is Jennifer Deltome. I'm with Casa Mental Health, a project manager of our capital expansion project. And with me tonight, I have Cassandra Marin, civil engineer with Reimagine Architects, and Jared Jorgensen, project manager with Clark Builders. So we are here tonight for the public hearing, second and third readings of the proposed bylaw amendment to add Youth Assessment Center as a permitted use to our site in the Gateway District. Casa Mental Health is an established nonprofit organization delivering holistic, culturally safe wraparound mental services to Albertans aged 3 to 18 and their families. Casa provides mental health service to the missing middle, mental health treatment for diagnosed children and youth in between prevention and promotion in community care, and acute treatment in hospital. And with generous provincial government grant support and a 5-year fundraising campaign, CASA's Adolescent Day and CASA Stay program will be expanded to communities in Fort McMurray, Calgary, Medicine Hat, and Edmonton over the next 4 years.
So touching on the project background, and thank you to Planning and Development for providing a bit of that context already. So in terms of the current zoning, Gateway District is a land use area intended for vehicle-oriented commercial development along high-volume, high-visibility corridors. Permitted uses within the current Gateway District include medical clinics and personal service facilities, both of which relate closely to the nature of the proposed development. In terms of our site location, the Casa Mental Health development is proposed for a site legally described as Lot 7, Block 1, Plan 2520897. The site is located within the Gateway District of RMWB, and you can kind of see where the site is located through the images in the slides. Next slide.
Why this site? Thank you. Why this site? So CASA, as we've been embarking on this project, we've been looking all over the province for land for a site that's appropriate for our use, as well as has the amenities that the families that come with our patients, whether just for a visit or dropping off each day for the day program, having the ability to have restaurants, hotels nearby was one of our criteria. So a long-time CASA donor generously donated 2 acres of the 3.93 acre site, and CASA purchased the other half. And just to keep the project moving along in order to reach our government grant deadlines, the project is expected to be completed and offering services in September 2027.
So to continue on to Jen's point, in terms of the rationale for the amendment, we do believe that this proposed development aligns with RMWB and the community needs. It keeps the community in Fort McMurray. This development will keep the families here instead of having to seek mental health care in other municipalities. And we believe that it aligns with the municipal development plan as well as a social sustainability plan, working collectively to improve social wellness and increase resiliency. I know Councillor Cardinal had some concerns with regards to the location of the site, and just based on the existing Casa House facilities, we actually find it beneficial for this sort of facility to be within a commercial oriented district, because sometimes families may not necessarily live in the municipalities that they're accessing for care. So just having, you know, a hotel, a restaurant that they can grab a meal at close to the facility is integral to the services that we would provide through this facility. Next slide. That is still me. So in terms of the proposed amendments, and I know Planning and Development has set forward a different proposal, but our current application requested that we add Youth Assessment Center as a permitted use to our site. And Youth Assessment Center is defined as an institutional development to provide rehabilitation, education, and treatment, including meals, sleeping accommodation, and incidental care to youth in a supervised environment. We will also take into consideration neighboring developments, as well as RMWB standards to propose a fit-for-purpose development. Now, we understand that Planning and Development has put forward a proposal to rezone the lot to public service while adding a discretionary use for the Youth Assessment Center. And our group is in support of this proposal, as it would allow for our proposed development to be in compliance not only with the current land use bylaw, but the future land use bylaw.
And for the record, again, my name is Jared Jorgensen with Clark Builders. So as part of the bylaw amendment process, we did host a public information meeting back on May 9th, 2025, here in the city of Fort McMurray with my two colleagues beside me here. We also did the public notification. We sent out the mailings to all of the neighbors of the area. Didn't get any feedback, any negative feedback or objections. Instead, we actually got the opposite, a few different letters of support. One of which specifically the Fort McMurray Construction Association reaching out to us expressing support and excitement for this development. So as are we as a builder that does quite a bit of work here in the community as well. Something that's kind of close to all of our hearts and we'd be proud to be a part of. So.
And I'll just add that CAS has done quite extensive careholder engagement in Edmonton so far with our existing staff and patients, former patients, families, as well as the Indigenous communities and multicultural communities in Edmonton. And part of our engagement plan will continue that community engagement, Indigenous engagement here in the municipality. So just in summary, the amendment will allow CASA to move forward with the development of a much-needed, purpose-built, semi-secure facility that will serve vulnerable youth and contribute positively to the community and the broader healthcare system. And again, just a reminder that our site was donated, and we're very grateful for that. And we request the support of council.
Thank you so much, presentation. I think it's a great program. I looked into it since May the 7th when I first heard of it and started digging into it. I think excellent location per town. My only question is, why did you choose to come to Fort McMurray? Because we often hear no one knows about us, yada, 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 oil town. What enticed you to come to Fort McMurray?
Well, we already reserved 6 beds in our Sherwood Park Casa House location for Fort McMurray kids. So, you know, as we all drove up here either yesterday evening or this morning, some of us, and, you know, no, it's not it's just that little bit longer than, you know.
Anywhere.
Than easy. So having families have to come visit their kids or pick up their kids on the weekly basis to take them home. We'll just allow that for the communities up here.
Perfect. Thank you. That's great to hear. Councilor Dogar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, guests. Nice presentation coming over for a very noble cause, helping the community, public service. My question follows, so much good work. How did you find that it needs mental treatment in Fort McMurray as asked by the mayor? Did you find anything deficient in our mental capacity? Okay, the question is, you said that grant has been approved by Alberta. So it was routed through our MLAs to Alberta, or you have some organization which routed the request for this?
To the chair, to Councillor Dogar, CASA has existing facilities here, and so they're just looking to expand that facility. Right now, the only city that offers the stay program is the city of Edmonton, where youth actually come for several months to get some of the more intense style of treatment. Right here in Fort McMurray, I don't know how many classrooms there are, but they only can offer the day program where they are dropped off and picked up. And as Jen mentioned, there are youth right now that currently travel from Fort McMurray to Edmonton to get that service, and that's really tough on the families to do that travel. So, and it goes without saying, we heard it here from an earlier presenter, there has been some hardship that this community has endured for sure in the last 10 years. And you hate to see that happen, but it's probably going to continue to happen to some degree. So to have a facility like this that's more local would be a benefit to all.
Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Dogar, Government of Alberta has granted CASA $75 million over 3 years. So this is the last calendar year that we're receiving that grant funding. And then the matching $75 million campaign that will be kicked off.
Councilor Benjoko?
Thank you, Mayor Boma, and thank you, CASA team. It's great to see you guys again. And to start with, I would, even though we don't know the donor of the land, but we appreciate whoever did. That's a great one. And of course, I'll be supporting this. Is CASA currently in the schools in this region? Are you working with students in this region?
Yes, CASA has a CASA classroom in Fort McMurray. Unfortunately, I don't know the exact school that it's in.
No, it doesn't.
But we would work with the local school divisions, the public and Catholic, for our day programs. We work with the local divisions to have teachers, public school teachers in our facilities offering the education component.
Thank you. But currently there's no like facility like that one can keep the kids overnight.
Through the speaker, or through the chair to the speaker, that is correct.
Thank you. So I definitely believe this is needed, and I've had a first-hand experience of a very close and dear young guy that had this challenge, and I can attest to the fact that the family was tired of traveling to Edmonton to attend to him. So welcome to Fort Mac. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Benjoko. Does council have any other questions?
Through the chair to Mayor, may I just clarify a comment earlier about the funding? We said $75 million project. There is a portion that's allocated for this. That is for a multi-phase. There is a second facility that we're looking to build concurrently in Calgary. So the build cost for the economic boost that it would give to this city, it's about a $25 million construction cost, just for the record.
Thanks, Chair.
Perfect. Thank you. And thank you all. Do we have any written submissions that need to be acknowledged?
Mr. Mayor, for the record, we have no written submissions and we have no registered verbal submissions for the record.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the gallery who wishes to come forward to present? Is there any further questions of council for administration? Just a reminder, once the hearing is closed, there'll be no other questions or information gathering. Councillor Cardinal?
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. I'm wondering how we could support the area being completely, medical, mental health, rather than it being developed into commercial.
Well, right now, there's, you probably asked plan development, but right now, there's Home Depot being built there. There's a Tim Hortons, there's a gas station, there's already businesses there.
Yeah, I know. But, okay. All right. All right. So we're good.
No apology. Planning development, you have add?
Through the chair to the question, by virtue of approving this evening's motion that administration's recommending, we are at least ensuring that the lot is public service and aligns to what you just described.
Thanks, Councilor Cardinal. Thanks, Amanda. Does administration or the applicant want to bring anything else forward, closing comments before we close the hearing? I'll declare this hearing closed at 7:09 p.m. Come to public hearing, we now have second and third readings for bylaw number 25/017, land use bylaw text amendment to the GD Gateway District for council consideration. Can I have someone make the motion for a second reading of bylaw number 25/017, land use bylaw text amendment to the GD Gateway District? Councillor Grandison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That bylaw number 25/017 being an amendment to the land use bylaw number 99/059 specific to lot 7, block 1, plan 2520897 be read a second time.
Thanks, Councillor Grandison, and thanks for the second, Councillor Weigel. Now, is there any other debate, discussion, or comments from council? I'll call for a vote. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Cardinal.
I think this one is maybe for administration. I kind of wanted to.
There's no other questions right now, Councillor Cardinal. Just right now, just comments or debate points. Once the hearing's closed, there's no other question or information gathering.
Okay.
Okay. With that, I'll call for a vote. And that's carried unanimously. 7 in favor. I'll now make the motion for the third reading. Councillor Benjoko.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I move that bylaw number 25/017 be read a third and final time.
Thanks, Councillor Benjoko, and thanks for a second, Councillor Boussier. And again, is there any debate, discussion, or comments from council? Not seeing, I'll call for a vote. And that's carried unanimously as well. Thanks, everyone. Just want to make a quick thank you to the landowner for donating part of the site. Thanks to Castle House for choosing Fort McMurray, and thanks to the Government of Alberta for helping fund it. Next up, we have bylaw number 25/014, food trucks and street vending bylaw, second and third readings, which is being presented this evening. I'd like to invite planning development back to give the report, please. Yeah, we'll just have to take a short break as Councillor Benjoko, Councillor Grandison, and Councillor Boussier are leaving. We do not have quorum right now. Okay, well, we still don't have quorum. She's out there talking to the presenters. I guess we'll take a 10-minute recess. That's the best I can do. Welcome back, everyone. We'll turn it over to Plan Development if they want to introduce the report, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, my name is Amanda Owens, Director of Planning and Development Services, and with me this evening is Bryn Armstrong, Manager of Land Administration Department within our division. We are here this evening to present a new bylaw supporting food trucks and street vending within the region. I'll turn it over to Bryn.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and Council. As Amanda suggested, I will provide an overview of the program before you. The purpose of the new bylaw is to provide greater food vending opportunities in and around the community. Currently, the land use bylaw only allows for food vendors on private land and not on municipal land or streets. This new bylaw will allow food trucks and vending on municipal land, streets, and private land. This expansion will support our local entrepreneurs and create more opportunity for social activities. The bylaw will also streamline the approval process for food trucks and food vending businesses. Street vending units include motor vehicles, trailers, and carts used for the sale of food and are not permanently affixed to the ground. Under the current process, food vendors are approved under the land use bylaw by issuance of a development permit. Under the new process, no development permit will be required, only an approval letter issued by the municipality. Food vending will be permitted across the region on municipal streets and sidewalks, in municipal parks and open space, on paved pathways and trails, as well as private land. Prohibited vending locations include highway corridors, provincial land, and residential neighborhoods. Roaming, however, is allowed in residential neighborhoods, and a great example of roaming is an ice cream truck. While vending on municipal land or streets, vendors must keep a 40-meter setback from brick and mortar food establishments, which are basically buildings. They must keep a 5-meter setback from driveways, intersections, bus stops, crosswalks, fire hydrants, emergency access routes, and must be no closer than 2 blocks from a special event, unless authorized by the event holder. A rules and regulations document will be available on our website and covers general compliance, requirements to operate, pre-approval information, such as Alberta Health Services food handling permits, regional emergency services permits, safety codes permits, and business licensing. To become an approved food vendor, applicants will fill out an online form through our website and include photos of the vending unit, their business license number, their Alberta Health Services food handling permit number, insurance information, as well as their vehicle information. Their submissions will be reviewed by administration, and applicants who have provided all required information will be issued a vendor approval letter. This approval letter will be valid for the term of their existing business license. In the unlikely event that an approved vendor fails to comply with the rules and regulations, administration will be taking an education-first approach. Administration has engaged with multiple community groups to ensure that the bylaw meets the needs of our community. We have met with local food vendors, YMM Startup, Alberta Forestry and Parks, the Downtown Revitalization Incentive Committee, the Wood Buffalo Pro-Business Advisory Committee, the Wood Buffalo Development Advisory Committee, and the Wood Buffalo Waterfront Advisory Committee. Discussions with stakeholders were generally supportive of the new bylaw. Stakeholder feedback led to an improvement of the bylaw by extending the vending operation hours from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. to 3 a.m., allowing for late night vending to enhance the downtown nighttime scene. We've also engaged with internal municipal departments to ensure our internal needs are met. Moving forward, if the bylaw is approved, applicants will be able to apply as early as tomorrow through our website. The bylaw, as well as the rules and regulations, will also be available for the public on our website. Our communications team is leading a public awareness campaign to ensure vendors and the public are aware of this new opportunity. A review will be conducted in the 2026-2027 seasons to ensure that the bylaw meets the needs of our community. Administration commits to updating council and committees as needed. In summary, the new bylaw aims to create a more balanced and streamlined approach to food vending in our region, providing support for local entrepreneurs, allowing food vending on municipal land as well as private land. This concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bryn. So there's no development permit fee?
Through the, to the mayor. There is no fee for this application.
Okay, and do you know, do you have offhand what the fines are for non-compliance?
Through the chair to the question. The fees are give me one moment, please. The fees start at $125 for a first offense, $250 for a second offense, and $500 for a third offense.
And those non-compliance includes like their AHS certification?
Through the chair to the question, in order for us to approve letters of support, we would have to see proof of the AHS.
Okay, and if they weren't compliant with AHS would have a different fine? Is that correct?
Through the chair to the
Same
question.
as the restaurant?
Correct, that's a separate process that AHS would be dealing with.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Councillor Cardinal?
Thanks for the presentation. Why the 2 blocks?
Through the chair to the question, so when we were reviewing the program, we wanted to ensure that there's supports put in to encourage local entrepreneurs to have mobile vending units or food vendor trucks. But at the same time, we don't want to see ourselves in a situation where you have food trucks parked out directly outside of an existing food establishment and taking away from established business that already exists. And so we thought that we need to ensure that there's some sort of distance to create fairness and to ensure that there isn't any unfair complications as a result of the bylaw.
How many people have the bylaw breached the bylaw? Let's say for ATC Cultural Fest.
Through the chair to the question, how many people have? Sorry, for clarity, how many people have breached the bylaw?
Yeah, because they're right. All the food trucks are right there, right, and it's.
So through the chair to the question, Bryn, you may want to add to that, but this bylaw would actually encourage more vendors within festivals such as the ATC festival. There are some rules in relation to other vendors that are not part of the event, parking within a certain distance. We don't want to have a situation where we have a private event and then you've got all these other food vendors that are trying to piggyback on the event that's occurring. We do allow it if the permissions are granted by the host vendor themselves or the host event. But currently, we would be encouraging more street vendors to be located at festivals, if that helps. Because through this bylaw, we're allowing them to be in parks and on streets and on municipal land.
Yeah, I get that part. I guess, so what happens to the ones that got, breached the bylaw and they're outstanding funds that they have to pay with this new bylaw, would that kind of like trump whatever they owe and just they're free, or do they have to still pay for the amount of the breach of bylaw?
Through the chair to the question, if they're in breach of this specific bylaw, we, in addition to a fee, they could have their vendor approval taken away.
Okay, no, but maybe you misheard me, but let's say somebody set up a food truck right at 7-Eleven and they're selling stuff, and then you guys went and gave them a ticket, and then all of a sudden now we're passing the bylaw stating, okay, well, you're able to do that now. Do they get a grace, or that's the question? Yeah, the outstanding tickets, I think it's kind of good that we just get rid of them, right?
Through the chair to the question, like the only way that an existing food vendor would have a ticket now would just be if there was any issues with the roads and transportation bylaw, because this bylaw doesn't exist today. So there would be no tickets in relation to this bylaw right now, because this is a completely new bylaw. It doesn't exist. This bylaw allows food vendors to vend on streets and municipal land and municipal parks, whereas right now they're technically not allowed.
That's what I mean, for the people that weren't allowed.
I think legal services might have an answer for that.
Through the chair to Councillor Cardinal, no, it wouldn't, because it's an offense for them to have operated without, whether it's a development permit in this instance or without authorization. So it would be an offense under the Roads and Transportation Bylaw. But I'm not aware that there has been any campaign by bylaw services to go out and ticket food trucks, or that it's been a big issue of them operating illegally. So this is just more of an effort to permit the activity now so that they can.
Nope, thanks for the education. Thank you.
So, through the chair to the question, if I can just add to that, currently the majority of vendors are on private land, which private landowners are allowed to administer the way that they see fit. And to Caitlin's point, we don't have any that we're aware of, no issue with anyone that's outstanding in terms of ticketing in relation to vending on streets or in municipal land.
No,
Thanks, Councillor Cardinal. Councillor Dogar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Director, for the nice presentation. I just want to ask the question. With this bylaw, the vendors would be permitted to get into the streets, houses close to, am I right, what I understood?
Through the chair to Councillor Dogger. In this particular bylaw, there's no vending allowed within residential neighborhoods unless the vendor is roaming. So they cannot stay in one place in that residential neighborhood.
Oh, fine, thank you.
Does council have any other questions for administration? I'm not seeing any. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Bren. Do we have any other delegates to this item?
We have one registered delegate.
We have one delegate, Bryce Kumka. And Bryce, if you want to introduce yourself for the record, and you have 5 minutes to present, and please stay on topic and remain seated for questions, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Bryce Kumka, and I wanted to speak a little bit about the bylaw that's before us today with respect to food trucks. I wholeheartedly support the proposed bylaw. I think it encourages specific development surrounding the downtown. I think the majority of the food truck activity would be in the downtown, and whenever you go to another jurisdiction, you see hot dog carts, you see food trucks, and you see people out enjoying them at lunchtime or around festival and other community-orientated events. Unfortunately, Mayor Bowman stole my thunder that there was no fee. I thought that was great, and there was no development permit required. So those fit into the red tape reduction portion of my life very, very well. And I think that's important to make it easier for these are small and micro businesses, and encouraging them to invest in the the equipment and capital in order to have these food trucks available to the community is great. I'm not super keen on the restrictions of where they can go, with the exception of residential. We don't want like hot dog carts on the corner of a residential street. But as far as allowing for a vendor to set up on, generally speaking, in other communities, they park in a metered spot. They put their money in the meter and they're there for the day, kind of thing. So I don't really have a problem with that. And as far as there being within proximity of a brick and mortar restaurant, I think more activity is potentially positive regardless, because it's a different offering. Standing in the street and eating food is different than sitting down in a restaurant or cafe and enjoying that different dining experience. And I don't really think they're in competition. They're more complementary, and bringing people to the downtown or to an event or a festival, because we've got food trucks that enhance the services are offering. I mean, my darling daughters love a good ice cream cone, a hot dog, or a box of fries, and they seem to taste better when they come from trucks for some reason. I don't know why that works, but it seems to be the truth. So, at the highest level, I support the bylaw, but I think that if it had less restrictions, sometimes more is better. So, those are my thoughts.
Thanks, Bryce. And I guess, touche, you stole my thunder. My question was how you think it was going to affect local businesses that are restaurants in the community. You did answer that. That's probably my only concern with the bylaw is the residents that have restaurants that pay for development permits, that pay rents, which are probably not the most economical rents you can get anywhere. And now we have food trucks that can park 40 meters from them to serve food. And that was my question, but I think you did answer it.
Yeah, through the chair to the chair. I think it's a different service, a different type of food service than a bricks and mortar, and it could be complementary. I mean, we wouldn't. It'd just be nice to see them on Franklin Avenue here. I mean, to have some activity surrounding that and people standing around and enjoying the weather. I mean, the food truck environment, you're talking about 100 days of good weather with which to take advantage, where the bricks and mortar, they're all year round. So I think if it could get people to come to use the park as an example, that would be advantageous and actually could contribute to more economic activity for the businesses that are in the neighborhood from that perspective.
Perfect. Thanks, Bryce. Do you have any other questions for the presenter?
Thank you, everyone.
Just a second, Bryce. Councillor Cardinal.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to ask about you spiked the question for me there about maybe concerning a little bit of congestion downtown there in Franklin Avenue, because if we get 30 trucks on Canada a day, then all of a sudden, just thanks for.
Through the chair to Councillor Cardinal, congestion is a good thing. It slows traffic down, and then people realize what's there as far as shopping opportunities. Having a highway through the middle of a downtown is probably the worst thing we could have, as far as slowing traffic down. People looking, saying, "Oh, there's so and so or store or restaurant." Could stop and enjoy that. Maybe not today, but at a different time. So I mean, I think look at modern urban development in downtowns. They talk about traffic calming bumps at the corners to slow down traffic and make pedestrian access for crossing roads more feasible. But it's all about making it more difficult to get through the downtown so that you see and appreciate and have an opportunity to stop and make that buying decision.
Maybe they can have a vendor fest.
That's right. There we go.
Thanks, Councillor Cardinal. Is there any other questions from council? I'm not seeing any. Thanks, Bryce.
Thanks.
Can I make the motion for the second reading? Councillor Benjoko.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I move that bylaw number 25/014, being a new bylaw for the control and regulation of food truck and street vending, be read a second time.
Thanks, Councillor Benjoko, and thanks for the second, Councillor Boussier. Does Council have any debate, discussion points, or comments they'd like to make?
Yes.
Go ahead, Councillor Benjoko, your light's on.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. My question is about safety. I'm not sure, I want to know if this trucks or vans will be marked or could be any vehicle, and how do we, or is there any fear around safety? If it's just any color, any shape, and sometimes some people amongst us might have other plans, especially for kids.
Through the chair to the question, the vehicles themselves would be licensed through Alberta Transportation. So in terms of the safety of the vehicle itself, that would be managed through the province. And within the rules and regulations, there are some items that speak to ensuring that there is safety in and around the food truck, especially because, you know, you've got lineups and in some cases people might be lingering around to eat. It's contemplated in the rules and regulations.
Thank you, Director Amanda. It's not this, I'm not really concerned about the safety of the vehicles now. I'm thinking of the safety of the kids and how people will be able to identify that the vehicles are for food, for vending vehicles. And
through the chair to the question, so typically all food vendor trucks would have some sort of advertising or marked signage on the exterior to signalize that they are a food vendor. There's some provisions in the rules and regulations that speak directly to ensuring that there's a minimum unobstructed sidewalk clearance of 2 meters for pedestrians. So there are some rules that ensure that that element of safety is considered and followed.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bajoko. Councillor Cardinal?
Thanks, Mayor. I did want to give a shout out to administration for recognizing the incentive for the small businesses, for the people that are struggling in this community that, struggle to pay rent, struggle to, send their kids to school. And, it's a great initiative, and it's great to have administration be able to present this to us as a council tonight. And I really look forward to seeing all the vending trucks and, the supports that are created from this initiative that we hopefully can all come to agreement on. So great job for the administration, and I hope that I can get myself a burger down at Franklin Avenue and maybe a buffalo steak at the ATC Cultural Fest. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Cardinal. So with that, I'll call for a vote. Thank you. That's carried with 1 opposed. Can I have someone make the third reading? Councillor Weigel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that bylaw number 25/014 be read a third and final time.
Thanks, Councillor Weigel. Thanks for a second, Councillor Grandison. Again, is there any debate, discussion, or comments from council? That I'll call for a vote. And that's carried with 1 opposed. Thank you. We'll now move into the public hearing for bylaw number 25/015, land use bylaw amendment for food trucks and street vendors. Before declaring the public hearing open, there's an overview of the process. Public hearing will be open, followed by introduction of the item from administration and questions from council. They'll move it then into written submissions, and followed by, we'll hear submissions from any speakers present, followed by questions from council. To finish, we will hear closing statements, then the hearing will be declared closed. Hereby declare the hearing open at 7:51 p.m. I'd like to invite Planning Development to provide an introduction and opening statement, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, my name is Amanda Owens, Director of Planning and Development, and next to me is Bryn Armstrong, Manager of the Land Administration Department. This item before you is a follow-up to the approval, or the recently approved, food truck and street vending bylaw. It's a text amendment to the land use bylaw number 99059 and a text amendment to the land use bylaw number 26001. These amendments are both required in order to allow for the food vending bylaw to move forward. This amendment is a logistical step to move forward with the new food trucks and street vending bylaw. By completing this text amendment this evening, we will be able to streamline the municipality's approach to food vending for our region, providing support for local entrepreneurs, allowing food vending on municipal lands, streets, and private land. Thank you. This concludes our presentation.
Thank you, Amanda. Do we have any questions from council? I'm not seeing any. Thank you both. Do we have any written submissions that need to be acknowledged?
We do, Mr. Mayor, through the chair. For the record, we did receive 4 written submissions in support of the bylaw, which is found on agenda package page 244.
Perfect. Thank you. Do we have anyone registered to speak?
We have no registered verbal submissions.
And it seems a public hearing. Is anyone in the gallery wish to come forward to speak? Not seeing any further questions of council for administration. Does administration have anything like to add? I'll now declare the hearing closed at 7:53 p.m. Coming out of the public hearing, we have second, third readings. Bylaw number 25/015, land use bylaw amendment for food truck and street vendors. For council consideration, can I have someone make the motion for second reading of bylaw number 25/015? Councilor Benjoko.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I move that bylaw number 25/01 being a text amendment to the land use bylaw number 99/059 and land use bylaw number 26/001 specific to mobile food vendors be read a second time.
Thanks, Councilor Benjoko, and thanks for the second, Councilor Weigel. Are there any other debate, discussion, or comments from council? Not seeing any. I'll call for a vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I have someone make the motion for the third reading? Councilor Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I read that bylaw number 25/015 be read a third and final time.
And thanks, Councilor Weigel. Thanks for the second, Councilor Lavalley. Again, is there any debate, discussion, or comments from council? And I'll call for a vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Next, I have the report on Community Investment Program, CIP Policy, FIN 220. I'd like to invite Community Services to introduce the report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Tony Elliott, Acting Director of Community Services, and with me tonight is Janelle Fleury, the Manager of Community Partnerships and Initiatives, and Leanna Wielden, and she's representing the Community Investment Program Approval Committee. And I'm going to pass it right over to Leanna to start with the CPAC mandate overview.
The mandate responsibility for reviewing the community investment program and making recommendations to council on enhancements. Annually, CPAC completes a review of the grant cycle process with administration, leading to discovery of best practices and suggestions for improvement. The policy presented this evening is the result of recommendations made following a review of the 2025 Community Investment Program process. Key findings from the 2025 review of the Community Investment Program included areas of improvement within the policy and areas of improvement that are not within the policy. Enhancements to Policy FIN-220 require Council's approval, while process improvements or how administration implements the program can be adapted without the need for Council direction. Policy changes may be minor or substantial, while process improvements generally involve refining implementation based on best practices and lessons learned. Together, these improvements create efficiencies and enhance customer service.
Proposed improvements to the Community Investment Program Policy FIN-220 include enhanced eligibility criteria, including better definition of political organizations and religious activities, which are ineligible under CIP. Additional criterion for audited financial statements requiring approved backup documentation be submitted by organizations that have restricted net assets. A clearly established process for applicants to engage with committee members. This includes a process for the committee to pose questions of applicants during the review period, while also contemplating a process for reviewing eligibility if an applicant approaches members of the committee during the review or allocation period, as this risks introducing bias to the process. Not mentioned on this slide but found in the policy is a change to language 3.6.2 pertaining to the applicant's request for their scorecards. Applicants will still be able to request their scorecards, though the change in language supports an efficiency in providing a summary rather than all individual scorecards, as the average score on the summary is what is used for final allocations. Other substantial changes include proposed increases to maximum grant amounts, meaning the policy recommends up to $100,000 for community programs and projects, opposed to the current $80,000 maximum. And it proposes up to $25,000 for community events, opposed to the current $20,000 maximum. This is intended to ease inflationary pressures while allowing organizations to consider pilot initiatives that fill unmet community needs that they cannot otherwise seek additional funding for when maxed out in their grant stream. The policy recommendation is to eliminate multi-year agreements, as reliance on annual budget approvals creates a restraint in making this a true multi-year grant. Engagement with organizations who have received multi-year agreements reflected an understanding that the pilot did not fulfill its intended purpose and led to an understanding that recognition for organizations with strong outcomes and reporting may be a compromise. Lastly, the recommendation incorporates the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Grant into Policy FIN-220. This is a pilot grant stream that has been administered by administration since 2022. Council allocates a budget of $50,000, which is administered first come, first serve, for micro grants up to $5,000 per applicant. It is intended for individuals or groups who are not registered nonprofits to develop artists and enhance heritage or cultural celebration in the region. The Arts, Culture, and Heritage Grant priorities are linked to the Public Art Plan, the Culture Plan, and the Heritage Resource Master Plan. Including this grant stream in the CIP policy ensures the same standards applied to other grant administration is being met regardless of the grant stream, as this pilot has now reached its maturity.
Process improvements are best practices and adaptations to administrative process that enhance customer service and increase efficiencies for CIP. These improvements include revisions to the CIP applicant summary sheets that are provided to CPAC by administration, allowing for key information to be highlighted from the application package. The revisions will put a stronger emphasis on the organization's outcomes by highlighting key elements from their 6-month reporting. The revision period for submitted applications will be changing from 14 days to 5 business days. This aligns with best practices for similar grant programs and creates additional efficiency for both the applicant and administration. Having applications completed and revised sooner allows additional time for CPAC's review, enabling CIP to facilitate a question period during which applicants may be asked clarifying questions that CPAC has posed. Lastly, in alignment with the municipality's goal to foster collaboration and partnership, the CIP application will now require a partnership letter from organizations listed as collaborators. A template letter has been developed by CIP to ease administrative burden on nonprofit applicants, though their own letters may be accepted.
Adjustments to the CIP policy and to the CPAC and administrative processes are expected to have a positive impact on the municipal grant programs and its applicants. Clearer definitions of eligibility ensure that the strategic investments made through CIP are being directed to the intended beneficiaries, namely the residents throughout Wood Buffalo and the social profit sector who support them. Increased grant maximums allow opportunities for collaboration to fill gaps in services, pilot initiatives that meet existing needs, or simply adjust to inflation. An efficient grant timeline and agreement term creates a simplified process, clearer grant agreements, and reduced administrative burden on social profit organizations. And overall, the ongoing improvements to CIP allow for enhanced financial accountability and oversight that preserves the intention of the program, ensuring that CIP remains available for years to come to provide ongoing support for social profit and community. And this concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from council? My question first is, I think a lot of these changes are great. My question is, how are we going to discourage applicants from contacting committee members? It says discourage them, but doesn't say how are we going to discourage them. I agree with it. I just don't know how.
Through the chair to the chair. We will socialize it with the applicants when we're doing the information sessions. We do these with, we do two urban sessions and a rural session before the applications open. And then committee members are encouraged to let administration know if they're being approached by applicants during the review or allocation period so that we can handle that accordingly.
Okay, and would there be a deduction maybe for contacting committee members or something?
Through the chair, we'll work with our legal services team to determine if they've met the threshold to be ineligible or if it constitutes a warning or...
Perfect, because I think, yeah, having an interview will give them a chance saying they need to say they don't have to approach committee members. Thank you. Councillor Cardinal, a question?
Give them a slap on the wrist, eh? Question is, how many CIPs have we given? 116? I can't remember.
Through the chair to Councillor Cardinal, we annually give out over 150 grant agreements.
150. Yeah. How many of those were successful?
Through the chair, most, I would say, if not all, organizations are successful in delivering their initiatives. Sometimes they require a little bit of support with their reporting. Understandably, they're experts in social programs and social initiatives, not necessarily grant reporting or financial reporting. So we provide that support where it's needed.
What specific adjustments have you made that protects the funds that we provide and we don't continue to get ripped off from the people and they take the money and they run? Because I would like to know.
Through the chair to Councillor Cardinal, the Community Investment Program has built-in criteria that protects the release of funds if an organization is not in compliance with their reporting or if there's reason to believe that the funds are being misused. We also, through the committee, conduct a very thorough review of the applications. They're reviewed thoroughly by administration and then thoroughly by the committee. The due diligence is there to understand that the funds will be used in accordance to how they're outlined.
How many people have, out of the 150, how many people didn't report back?
Through the chair to Councillor Cardinal, most organizations report on time. Sometimes we have organizations who are late reporting. As I mentioned, we work with them to get them back into compliance. So we have no organizations who have not reported. So
20,000 being the minimal amount, right? Is it 80?
Through the chair, so it would be currently $80,000 for community programs and projects. We're recommending a change to $100,000 for that grant stream.
Narrative?
Sorry, through the chair, can you clarify the question?
Why?
Through the chair, we determined that the $80,000 has been the same for several years, if not the entirety of the community investment program's existence. There's been increased inflation, inability for organizations and social profit to provide necessary raises to their employees if they are consistently receiving the 80,000.
So with the CIP, is it 20, so it's 20 and 80 recommendations going to 100. Is there anything past 100? I mean 80? I can't, like,
Through the chair, sorry, I didn't hear your question.
I think I got this grant mixed up with something different. Thank you for your presentation.
Councillor Boussier?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Bowman, through the chair. Thanks for all your work. Couple questions, and one is maybe just an extension of Mayor Bowman's question. What exactly is consideration for reasonable apprehension of bias? Can you explain how that looks in the real world or under your program?
Through the chair to Councillor Boussier, I probably will defer this to my colleague in legal who can speak to it better. I have an understanding of it, but legal services knows it in and out.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Boussier, it is a legal term that is used a lot. It's not always straightforward and easy, but in terms of it's whether a reasonable person having regard to all of the circumstances would conclude that a possibility of bias might exist. I know it made it a lot clearer for you when I told you that test, didn't it? It isn't straightforward, but it really comes down to whether a reasonable person might conclude, looking at the situation, that there's a bias. Okay. It's not about whether or not the person actually is biased in that situation. So that's where you start to look at the optics of it.
Okay, so are you able to provide an example how that would work under your...
Through the chair to Councillor Boussier, for example, if an applicant reached out to Leanna as a committee member and asked, did I miss the deadline for the application, we wouldn't necessarily consider that having met the threshold of Leanna now having bias to that applicant. However, if they were reaching out to a committee member to strongly suggest that their application be approved, then we would review if that apprehension of bias has been met.
Okay, and then if the group considered there was the bias or there was due pressure put on Leanne, you just deny their request, or do you penalize or reduce the amount they ask, or?
Through the chair to Councillor Boussier, so if there is a serious, I'll call it offense of an applicant, where there was harassment or serious bias created, we would work with legal services to determine that that is in fact what occurred, and then the policy allows that we could deem that applicant ineligible.
Okay, thank you.
So through the chair to Councillor Boussier, one of the things when it comes to bias or an apprehension of bias in these instances often has to do with potentially having the decision maker recuse themselves in that situation as well. So if it's identified, it won't necessarily make the applicant ineligible. There might be an opportunity to have the impacted individual remove themselves from that decision-making process in that instance.
Okay, thank you. Another question. It says requirement, and I think maybe you touched on this, Janelle, during your presentation. Requirement to request audited financial statements. Isn't that something that's already there?
Through the chair to Councillor Boussier, if an applicant is approved in the program for an amount over $500,000, they're required to provide audited financials upon their annual report. The change to the policy reflects that now when an applicant is applying for CIP at the point of application, if they have restricted assets, they have to provide the proper documentation with their financial statements to demonstrate that.
Okay, so before they didn't have to, the organization didn't have to provide any explanation for their assets or restricted assets?
Through the chair, we requested an explanation, but it wasn't in the policy, so it did become a gap.
Okay, and then just the final question here. It says remove the requirement for subsidiary organizations and municipal facility operators to present their budget request to council by making this optional. I'm assuming that's like someone like RRC or the library?
Through the chair, that's correct. So with the change in budget process for 2025, we had to contemplate how CIP would be presented. having every municipal facility operator and subsidiary corporation in the gallery for the duration of budget was exhaustive. So the policy now allows us the option to invite them to present or not.
Okay. You know, and I'll pick on RRC. I guess one of the things I find frustrating is that, I mean, I'll go back to last budget. I voted against the budget because we did $500 million budget in 2 or 3 days. In my opinion, we didn't do a very good job telling the public how their money was being spent. And here now, we're gonna let out, like I said, RRC, they come and ask for, I don't know, 20, 25 million, not to have to come to council. So the optional part would be on who? Council wanting them to present, or would it just be your group?
Through the chair to Councillor Bousset, so they would still attend the council meeting and if council called upon them for questions. The change in the policy language makes it so that it's not a requirement that they sit up here and present their budget unless asked.
Council would have to ask.
Through the chair, yes, it would be at council's discretion. But right now, the way it says that they must, they technically must. So that makes it more discretionary from council's perspective.
Okay, do you think it's in the best interest of the public purse for someone asking for 25 million not to maybe come and, I'm not trying to be argumentative,
No. So just from budget processes past, we've had all of the facility operators and subsidiary lined in the gallery, and council, I don't believe it might even been this council, but in the past they were like, we don't want to hear them, right? So, and not that they didn't want to hear, it was a 4-day process. CIP took up a full day of presentations. And so toward the end of it is like, okay, these are the organizations we see repetitively. We know what they're doing. The ask is basically the same. We can forego that presentation because there's that relationship there. In the policy, the way it's written, it says that they still have to. So depending on council of the day and the day of, they do have discretion. You do have discretion now to say, you know, we can forego this. And, but right now, the way the policy is written, it's they must.
Through the chair to Councillor Bousset, I just want to add as well that whether it's CIP presenting the request or the applicant that is a municipal facility or a subsidiary, we would still intend to speak to the impact for the dollars.
Your group would, but I would think that maybe you wouldn't have all the questions that maybe Mr. Walsh would if a councillor was interested in some of the budget items, right?
Yep, and through the chair, that is the process that CIP took with the last budget cycle. Community Services presented the whole budget for those grants. And in the gallery, all of the facility operators and subsidiary were available if there were questions, because you're right, the CIP team would not have all those questions or all those answers.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Roussier. Councillor Benjogo.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Thank you for the presentation. In what ways have we, or is this going to help us improve on monitoring the outcomes and in an effective way? It's a struggle for me the way we monitor the outcomes of the performances or the agreement, because some of the ways we collect the information is challenging. So have we changed a little bit and become better in that aspect?
Through the chair to Councillor Benjogo, it's sort of twofold. So one of the process improvements that we're making is a better summary sheet for the Community Investment Program Approval Committee members that will include additional information about the applicant's 6-month reporting. So that will be a more current insight into their outcomes at that time. And we're working progressively to improve the funding priority so that they capture community need. We get closer to improving outcome and outcome reporting. So we continually meet with the organizations to build capacity and outcome measurement. And part of it is on how we share that information with the committee at the time that the approvals are being made.
Okay. And then I see something here about religious activities or anything towards religion and politics, of course, and rallies is not eligible. But sometimes there's a gray area between the applicants and a religion. So how do we manage that?
Through the chair to Councillor Banjoko, the reason for the improved definition for political organizations and religious activities is exactly because when we receive applications through CIP, sometimes it is from a branch of a religious institution. So it could be a church group, for example, that is doing nonprofit work. The improved definition ensures that they're better explaining in their application how it is community focused and it's open for all, not only for members of that congregation or providing any sort of preaching of their religion.
Okay. And is there any way we will proactively get this information across to these organizations
through the
prior to them submitting applications?
Through the chair to Councillor Banjoko, as I mentioned, we do information sessions, 2 urban and 1 in each rural community ahead of the application's opening. We also strongly encourage that each organization applying has a pre-application meeting with CIP. So through both that and our communication strategy that goes out to the public and directly to the group in the social profit sector, they will have ample notice of the changes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Banjoko. Councilor Dogar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the nice presentation. I remember about 2 months back, I put up a motion that about 45 million are spent, $45 million in CIPs, and there should be a better monitoring and councillors should also be invited and go. But that was not approved. But at the same time,
Councilor Dogar, do you have a question? Your question?
Yes, question is coming. After
okay, you need a question.
Okay. And so you made me forget it. And surely, when I see there's no allotment for cancer, did they not apply for it?
Through the chair to Councillor Dogar, correct, they have not applied for CIP funding. I haven't reviewed their organization's mandate or their activities, but I can assume that perhaps they're not eligible because it is a health initiative which falls under provincial jurisdiction.
Fine. The other question is, whenever you evaluate the need, because every CIP put up their maximum demand, how do you evaluate it? How do you feel that the demand is genuine or not genuine, and how much it is genuine? Because you people, sorry if I use the administration doesn't go there and visit them, monitor them. The monitoring system is not very appropriate.
Through the chair to Councillor Dogar, one of the ways that we ensure that the funding priorities are meeting community need is through assessments. So our council-approved plans currently inform the funding priorities. All of those plans included engagement with the community on existing needs. We're currently undertaking a needs assessment in community safety and social well-being, as well as working with our social profit partners to conduct various other needs assessments. So by doing that, we know that the services that are being offered to the funded organizations are meeting what the residents require.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Weigel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just kind of adding on to what Councillor Boussier was talking about, I do think that we're going to need, in my personal opinion, I think we need an amendment to the piece where the operating budgets.
Yeah, after the
to come in. I just want to speak to that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. First of all, I want to thank you very much for your hard work through this. This has been a scrupulating process all the way through, being side by side to you, Janelle, through this process. It's been hard. I've been in a couple interviews with you, and you've held the line of policy really well. And I think that has helped us be able to define what needs to move forward and to see the gaps, because you've really held to the rules impeccably and to the.
And your question?
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry. And to the committee. My question is, I'm getting all over the place now. I apologize. My question is, the transparency to council. If we were to take the operating budgets and they were not to present, one of the issues last year was that when an organization was denied, and if the council member was not on the budget, they had no clue what was accepted and not accepted. Therefore, there was no ability to have that conversation. In the budgetary conversation, there was just an amount approved. Is there going to be a better transparency process to the council members to be able to understand what was approved and not approved to each organization? Sorry that took so long to get back to that.
Through the chair to Councillor Weigel, thank you. I think you're asking if after the allocations, there will be additional transparency of what was allocated?
Yes.
Through the chair, yes, we can always we're an open book to sharing information. If there's a way that we can do it better, we're open to doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Weigel. Councillor Lavalley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted you to clarify what would be approved under political activities.
Through the chair to Councillor Lavalley, they would be ineligible. So for example, with the municipal election upcoming, if a councillor was to apply for CIP funding for their campaign, just that would be ineligible.
So right now they're ineligible and they always will be? Nothing will ever be approved under the political activities?
Through the chair, that's correct. That's how the policy currently reads.
Okay,
Thanks, Councillor Lavalley. Councillor, do you have another question? Councillor Benjoko?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So under this revised version, if an organization didn't get their funding, they make enough noise to be heard, what's the process? Because we should know about it. We, meaning the council as a whole, or I mean, if we've signed off on 5.5 and it's becoming 5.8, we need to know.
Through the chair to Councillor Benjoko, anytime an organization reaches out to CIP to express that they are not satisfied with the outcome of the funding decision if they didn't receive funding, that information is generally shared with the mayor's office. We can certainly share that more broadly with council. And there is no appeal process in the policy. So we entertain conversations around why they were not approved to help them have a better opportunity for the next grant cycle, but there's no appeal to the process.
Yes, thank you. I'm aware that there's no appeal. So if, for instance, the mistake is from RMWB and you want to make that change because we made a mistake, we should still know.
So through the chair, while there is no appeal process, if there is, from the applicant's perspective, a bias or a suspicion of wrongdoing by staff, they can use the whistleblower policy that's written in our policy as well. The municipal's whistleblower policy,
yeah.
They can make that call. But that is... that does not necessarily speak to the eligibility of the application. It might not speak to their viability or their outcome measurements. So that doesn't necessarily speak to that
being
they should have gotten a
revised
grant,
or something.
right? It's more about the wrongdoing of a staff or a committee member.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Benjoko. Do we have any other questions from council? Councillor Boussier?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Just follow what Councillor Stu and when I was chatting about. I can't support this with just the simple fact that it's optional. So is it up to me to make an amendment or?
No, once, because it's a public hearing, so once, or sorry, after we make the motion,
Okay.
then we can make an amendment and then go back and pass the motion with the amended bylaw. So, but that, I see what you're saying. Do you have any other questions from council? Do we have any delegates to this item?
We have no registered delegates for this item.
Can I have someone make the motion? Councillor Weigel?
I move that the Community Investment Program CAP Policy FIN 220 dated June 24th, 2025, as outlined in Attachment 2 be approved.
I second it.
Thank you, Councilor Water, and thank you, Councilor Doger. So it's open now for debate and discussion, and I agree with Councilor Bussier and Councilor Weigel on what they're saying, and I think, and I believe the next budget session we have will be more detailed for the public's sake and for our sake, and I think I would let one of the Councilor Weigel, if you could have a amendment there, or Councilor Bussier to amend that to a must.
Do you want to go? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would love to make an amendment to 3.12.1.1, where we've redlined in and crossed off shall. I'd like to, and put in may. I would like to cross off both and put in must or shall or whatever the back to shall. But I think it should be mandatory that they that anybody with an operating agreement does come forward and present. The rationale behind that is I think that's where we've seen a lot of the shortfalls when we've been going through organizations this year is that, and taking the ownership upon ourselves, we haven't done a deep enough dive into the operating agreements and financials. And so I think if we get farther away from it, it just becomes a bigger problem. And so I believe that we should stay close to that and see what's going on. Maybe I'm a little off topic, and so I may get stopped here. But I know there was a conversation in the request about the budget session. And how, and I do agree, I do know what Tony was talking about, where the conversations came up about they were getting too lengthy and we didn't need all the information. I think as a counselor, I think that we've gone too far in the other direction.
Councilor Weigel, we can get into that once we get a seconder, and then we can then let you speak to your amendment.
So, sounds good. Thank you.
So that's seconded by Councilor Bussier. Thank you, Councilor Bussier. Go ahead, Councilor Weigel, as you were saying.
Sorry about my rant here. But I do think that we've gone too far away. I think one of the things that I noticed, especially in the last budget session versus the previous ones, that there has been a lot more public engagement in both council, what they're doing, but also the public person, what's actually happening with the money. And so I believe that an understanding of each department, how it's being ran and what's going on, is better served to the public. The one thing that I was very amiss by, and Councillor Bussier and Councillor Ball brought to my attention, was the fact that that's, even though we go through the budget to approve it, the actual session in itself is to show the public about what's going on with the public purse. And so I think we've brought more of the conversation to making sure that council understands it and what's going on, but really the session isn't in itself for the public. And so I would like to see it almost go back in the other direction, where each director, walk through kind of what was going on. I think Ms. Farquharson did an unbelievable job presenting and getting us through it, but I think we lose the contact and the context of the people actually running either, whether it be a department or an organization. So, thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Weigel. And I see where you're going with that, and I agree as well. I think as we knew what was going on through the budget and going through everything, the material, the public didn't get a chance to really hear what was going on and ask questions to directors directly in the public. So I think we'll be looking at that for the next budget session. But I do agree with this amendment, sorry. Councillor Benjoko?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Keeping it short, I do agree as well. We need that.
Thanks, Councilor Benjoko. Councilor, any other discussion points or questions related to the amendment? Not seeing any, so I'll call it. This is a vote on the amendment. Councillor Grandison, are you in favor of the amendment? I think that's a yes. Thank you.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't see that you couldn't see it. I apologize.
Thank you. That's carried with one opposed. Moving on, now we're going to vote on that the Community Investment Program Policy FIN 220 as amended, dated June 24, 2025, as outlined attachment 2 be approved. I'll call for a vote. Councillor Grandison?
I did. I
Okay.
know I did.
Oh, I didn't see the thumb up. Thank you.
I was paying attention that time.
And that's carried unanimously. Thanks, everyone. And I want to thank Councillor Weigel for amendment and Councillor Boussier for picking up on that word there. Thank you. Thank you. We now have a report on the 2025 capital budget request. I'd like to invite Corporate Services to introduce the report. Whenever you're ready, Lori.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, my name is Lori Farquharson, Chief Financial Officer. Administration has identified 3 capital projects to be submitted for capital budget approval consideration. Council is the approving authority for the capital budget, subject to the provisions of the Fiscal Responsibility Policy FIN 160. These are being brought forward in advance of the 2026 budget process due to urgency and timing, and to initiate these projects in 2025. The first project is to secure funding for the Asset Management Computerized Maintenance System, CMMS. On February 11th, 2025, administration presented the Asset Management Plan and the revised approach for the application solution being citywide. Citywide is an application that the municipality uses for tangible capital asset tracking. The expanded use of the system will result in decommissioning of 6 other systems, resulting in annual operating savings of $80,000. This request will increase the approved 2025 capital budget by $350,000 and the approved 2026 capital plan by $400,000, resulting in a net increase of capital funding in the amount of $750,000. The second project is the replacement of an indoor playground at the Archie Simpson Arena in Fort Chipewyan. A recent inspection has resulted in the decommissioning of the playground for safety reasons. Due to the remote location of this community and limited recreational activities in the winter, administration is recommending the immediate action to proceed with the playground replacement. This request will increase the approved 2025 capital budget by $250,000. The third project is the replacement of conventional buses. Administration has reviewed the current asset replacement schedule of the municipality's conventional buses and identified the requirement to begin bus replacements in 2026. To meet this timeline, financing must be secured immediately to initiate procurement in 2025 to meet lead times of 18 months due to the limited production slots available nationally from the bus manufacturers. Advancing the procurement is essential to ensure the availability of a sufficient number of buses to maintain both current and future service levels. This request will increase the approved 2025 capital budget by $1 million and the approved 2026 capital plan by $6,600,000, resulting in a net increase of capital funding in the amount of $7,600,000. Administration is recommending that the capital project asset management system CMMS implementation as summarized on attachment 1 be approved, that the capital project Archie Simpson Arena indoor playground as summarized on attachment 2 be approved, and that the capital project conventional bus replacements as summarized on attachment 3 be approved. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Lori. Question about the buses. Where there's a big turnaround, when we order them, do we pay the price of what they are now, or do we pay the price when we get them?
Through the chair to the chair, I believe that there would be a contract up front, and then we have to just pay a deposit. And from what I understand, there's only a certain number of buses available nationally, and the U.S. has already basically put a placeholder in for about 80% of them.
Well, that was kind of my thought. If things going on with the U.S., they might put a tariff on buses. So I don't want to pay any more for them. Thanks. Councillor Boussier?
Yep. Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I just lost my, through the chair to Lori. Lori, just the asset managed software, I get that one. The playground and the buses, how does that sneak up on us? Like, don't we, I'm assuming the playgrounds are inspected regularly. Or?
Through the chair to the question, I'll defer to my colleague, Mr. Smith, on where the playground is concerned. Or would that be Dennis? Apologies.
Through the chair to Councillor Boussier, technically it would be Dennis. However, it is our playground technicians that inspect them. There is an asset management plan in place for these playgrounds throughout the municipality, but there is cases such as the one in Archie Simpson Arena. It is, I do believe, 12 to 15 years old. And this one is a rubberized flooring, even though it's indoors. And what happens is this rubberized flooring do not pass the head impact testing. So this is, sometimes the rubber changes depending on temperature where it's located. So at year 12 it changed and it will not pass. Now with this playground being 15 years old, what we decided to do is not only change the surfacing, but to replace the playground in total. Now this playground is not very big, it's 15 by 15, it's indoors, so that's why we're going forward to replace it this year.
Okay, through the chair to Director Smith, so I'm just curious, why wouldn't we've had just that plan in place for our budget last year, knowing that it was reaching its life expectancy, instead of now all of a sudden bringing in a panic to get it ordered now? Like, I'm just kind of trying to ascertain why the panic now all of a sudden, instead of just having it in last year's budget for this year, or this year for next year.
Excellent question. So what happened, are we talking about the playground?
Playground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our playgrounds gets inspected regularly, and one of the most important tests, and like I said before, the head impact. Now, when it was inspected in 2024, it passed. And that is one of the problems that we are facing with the rubberized flooring, is that it changes abruptly. A playground typically lasts 20 years. This one being inside should have lasted 20 plus years, because it's not exposed to temperatures, exposed to the weather. However, when we did send up our playground technicians, they did the testing, it did not pass. So at this point in time, we had to caution tape it off, we had to shut it down, and to make that decision, do we just do the flooring, or are we at a point in time where we do the remainder? And we made the decision just to replace it all. It's at year 12, it doesn't make sense to put old parts on a new surface.
No, and I agree with you. And I guess follow-up question would be the buses, same sort of scenario, like why we're just rushing here to get buses and they didn't come in during the budget in November?
Yes, sir. So if you recall, back in 2016, we ended up buying, I believe it was 25 buses at that point in time, because we were looking at enormous growth within the municipality. And over the time, we didn't really replace any, because as the growth didn't come to fruition, we did not need that in order to make service. So I couldn't come before you and say, I need to replace these buses, because we didn't really know what we needed to replace to what service. Now in 2023, when we came forward to TMP, now we know the service that we need to do, and we also know the fleet that we need to run that service, which is 48. So we've been drastically reducing our fleet. Now we're down to about 60. We're going to reduce it to 48. However, what this is not a product of the Transit Master Plan. This is asset management planning at its best. We have not replaced a bus in 9 years. Most are 16 years old. These are just old buses that's aging out that we need to replace. And what we have before you is the first stage in the staggered approach to this asset management plan. By 2032, all of our buses will be at a point in which they're new, or we're back to where we should be.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bussier. Does anybody have any other questions for administration? Councilor Benjoko?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I'm trying to understand the increase to the busing purchases is $7 million to the 2026 planned capital budget. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Benjoko, this is a new ask, so it's not an increase. It does read that it's an increase to the capital budget. The $1 million is to put the deposit down and to order and secure the buses. And then the remainder of the funding required, the $6.6 million, will be upon receipt of the buses. So in total, we're asking for $7.6 million.
Increase?
Well, the increase is specific to increasing the draw on the capital budget. Okay. There is no budget right now for buses, so this is net new.
Okay. Okay, so this, we never saw it when the budget was planned, just like my colleague said, but so this is like, you know, planning ahead of the coming year or drawing some capital, some funds against the coming year, right?
Through the chair to Councillor Benjoko, yes, it would be $1 million out of the current capital budget, the reserve, and then 6.6, and you would see that on the 6.6 on the next budget cycle when we come forward to council in the next term.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Benjoko. Do we have any other questions? I'm not seeing any. Thanks, Laurie.
Okay.
Do we have any delegates this item?
We have no registered delegates for this item.
Can I have someone make the motion? Councilor Weigel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, Stu Weigel, move that capital project asset management software CMMS implementation as summarized on attachment 1 be approved, that the capital project Archie Simpson Arena Indoor Playground as summarized on attachment 2 be approved, that the capital project conventional bus replacements as summarized on attachment 3 be approved.
And thanks for the second, Councilor Benjoko. Does council have any other debate, discussion, or comments? Call for a vote. Thanks, Councilor Grandison. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have a report on 2025 capital budget amendments funding sources. I'd like to invite Corporate Services to introduce the report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, my name is Laurie Farquharson, Chief Financial Officer. Administration has identified 2 capital projects to be submitted for capital budget amendment consideration. Council is the approving authority for the capital budget, subject to the provisions of the Fiscal Responsibility Policy FIN 160. The capital budget amendment will result in a net decrease of $892,147 to the 2025 and prior capital budget, as outlined in the budget net change summary. The first project is the amendment for the Anzac Lagoon expansion design and construction. A provincial grant application for the project was submitted in 2024 for $2,149,857. The project funding was approved and awarded, therefore resulting in an increase in provincial grant funding and a reduction to the capital infrastructure reserve. The second project is for the transit facility Green Trip construction. In 2019, the project was awarded a grant for eligible expenses. The grant budget was historically entered as 2/3 of the project value versus the eligible costs. As such, the grant budget was overstated. This project is complete and identified for closure. To close the project, the budget requires adjustment to reduce the grant funding of $1,257,710 and increase the capital infrastructure reserve funding by the same value. Administration is recommending that the 2025 capital budget amendment, project cash flow, cancellation and amendment, net impact dated June 24th, 2025 be approved, and that the 2025 capital budget amendment, project cash flow, cancellation and amendment, cash flow summary dated June 24th, 2025 be approved. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Laura. Do you have any questions from council? I'm not seeing any. Do we have any delegates to this item? Can someone make the motion? Councilor Benjoko?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the 2025 capital budget amendment as summarized on attachment 1, 2025 capital budget amendment project amendment net impact dated June 24, 2025 be approved, and that the revised cash flow of capital projects as summarized on attachment 2, 2025 capital budget amendment, project amendment, cash flow summary dated June 24th, 2025 be approved.
Thank you, Councilor Benjoko, and thanks for the second, Councilor Lavalley. Are there any other debate, discussion, or comments from council? I'm not seeing any, so thanks for bringing this forward, Lori. It's good for us to see where projects are, and it's nice to see we're saving some money. We'll call for a vote. Al is in favor. That's carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have the 2025 Q1 Capital Project Status Report. I'd like to invite Corporate Services to remain seated. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've also asked Director White to join us as well. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the record, my name is Lori Farquharson, Chief Financial Officer, and with me is Elliot White, Director of the Project Management and Facility Services. In alignment with the fiscal management value of Council's strategic plan, administration is presenting the Q1 Capital Project Status Update. This comprehensive exercise provides updates on the status of all ongoing municipal capital projects. The information provided in the published report is as of March 31st, 2025. On April 8th, 2025, administration provided the Q4 2024 Capital Project Status Update. Since that time, administration has established a cross-department working group to review and assess capital projects, particularly those identified in the closeout phase. Through this collaborative approach and data sharing, the team has made progress towards the identification of action items to close out projects, which will be reflected within the Q2 Capital Project Status Report in the fall. Administration is recommending that the Capital Project Status Update as of March 31st, 2024, as summarized on Attachment 1, be accepted as information. This concludes our presentation. We're happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Lori. Do you have any questions from council? Councilor Bousquet?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, through the chair to the presenter. I guess just looking at a few of the projects, there seems to be, I'll just use one for. So I don't know if it's Elliot or Lori's going to answer this, but if you look at the storm sewer water upgrades in Mackenzie, Beacon Hill design, you look at this project was approved in 2016. And it's not supposed to be completed for 10 years. Is that a normal working period for a project of that size?
Through the chair to the question, this is a massive upgrade to the Mackenzie area, Beacon Hill area. So I believe it's 7 phases in total. And in the case of a municipality, it's typically that, 10, 15, 20 years would be the timeline for that type of project.
And that, I guess, would, Elliot, through the chair, would be the same for the Thickwood parameter sewer,
Correct.
2017.
100%.
Okay. And then in 11, I think it says here, we've only spent in the first 11 years, or first 8 years, sorry, 37%, but yet we're going to spend the remaining in the last 3 years.
Through the chair, which exact project are you referring to?
Just that Thickwood sewer design.
Through the chair, the intent is to take that project through the design phase and get the design complete. The actual construction component is not part of that particular item, so it's only design only, if that's what you're referring to, 2020.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at design and why it takes well, if I'm reading this right, it takes like 11 years.
Mm-hmm. Through the chair, to the question, it's a fairly complex project where this, for memory purposes, this is the one that has to do with the flooding of basements in the Thickwood neighborhood. There's 2 underground lines, water and sanitary. There's no storm. Okay. So we're upgrading, putting larger storm systems in to protect the residents. Okay. So it is a fairly large project. It stretches basically all through the neighborhood of Thickwood to upgrade the systems.
Okay, thank you. Last question, we get back to the bus transit system from 2014. And I know when I sat council in 2013, we talked about this, and where are we with it? It says it's supposed to be completed in 2027, yet it looks like we've only spent 1% of our budget. Or
through the chair, could you reference a page or a
page 310 of 320, if that makes. I got a hard copy here, so I don't know, page. It's the intelligent bus transit system. It'd be 5, page 5 of this, if you got the same copy. Or Lori does, I'm not sure. Pardon me? Okay.
Through the chair, to the question, this particular project is not delivered by the Project Management Office.
It's not what, sorry?
Sorry, it's not delivered by the Project Management Office. So if I'm able to ask my colleague to answer that question, if he's able. This, for reference, Director Smith, is the Intelligent Bus Transit System on page 5 of 6.
Through the chair, Councillor Bussier, that money indeed will be spent. What that money is earmarked for is CAD AVL, which is what will make our buses live. That will show when you're on the app exactly where the buses are located. And as well, what we're going to do with that money is in the new buses and the buses that we currently have, we're going to update the fare system, the fare boxes, to accept a card, like a smart card versus the cash and what they take now. Back, 8, 10, 12 years ago when that money was approved, it was a different time, and that was under a different TMP. And if you remember, that's when we had the double deckers and all that stuff. We're not doing that anymore. We got this new TMP that you have now approved, and we're taking this money to invest into what they call intelligent busing systems, such as what I described.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Bussier. Councillor Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple questions. Elliot, there's $24 million, or I guess neither of you, sorry. There's $24 million left in balance available in the closeout. If you go at the very end of the closeout page, there's $24 million left available in those. How much of it is actually coming back?
Through the chair to Councillor Weigel, that is something that the team that I mentioned is working on. So they've actually made a lot of progress on identifying which projects are truly closed out. We're trying to go through various different stages of the process. The $24 million I'm hoping to have a much better sense of that number come the Q2 report. But it's a very manual process. Even within the closeout, it's very manual, and there's various different people involved with each step of the process to get there as well. But we are working quite diligently across departments to get to that place.
And if there was money left over, where would that money go back into?
It will go into the capital infrastructure reserve.
Okay,
As
awesome.
I'm committed.
Second question, how many targets, so the target completion date, how many got moved from 2025 to a further date down the road?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Through the chair, are you referring to the difference between, say, the last update and this update?
Yeah.
How many?
So how many projects were due this year
Yeah.
that we've now changed to be due in a different year down the road?
Through the chair, I wouldn't have that answer in front of me. There might be some projects that, for whatever reason, had a delay.
Gotcha.
And so we don't have a mechanism in this reporting structure to say we moved from, say, 25 to 26.
Okay.
It is possible that does happen through the process. It doesn't happen that often that it would have been from 5 to 26, because projects that are ready to be finished for 25, we'd be almost finished.
Right. There's just someone that seemed to get, that we're supposed to start this year, and I don't want to call it out because I need to go back and reference it, but I was pretty sure it was supposed to be done this year and wasn't, and so I'm not going to put you on the spot because I need to go back and reference it, but it'd be great if we can get a project update as part of, like, I don't know if it needs to be live or just even an email, because if something gets moved, we're talking to the public constantly about what's going to be getting done this year. Correct. And so if that gets moved and then we're not informed, then we can't inform the public as we're continuously going on.
Okay, through the chair to that statement, what I can do is take what would be the Q4 report, look at the Q1 report, look at the differences, and look at that delta and share that with council. Yeah, that's an easy exercise, and provide that through various channels through email.
Awesome. I guess, and I don't know, along the way, maybe you don't have this number either. What was projected to be spent in Q1 and what was actually spent in Q1 for our capital projects?
Through the chair to Councillor Weigel, as the team is reconciling, we can flesh out the details and work with Elliot on what he's just committed to, but also be able to speak to that.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Weigel. Councillor Banjoko.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I don't know, I messed around with the file, but I saw a few of the projects that were approved to start 2024, and as at now is zero spent. And I saw one that is 2017 that we are waiting federal and provincial contribution before that project will start. I think that one is 5 million. I'm trying to open my computer. So for the one that is since 2017, and we are waiting on federal and provincial contributions to that project. So what happens? 2017 is like how many years? 8 years. So what's did you find it? I'm trying to open. I think it's page 3 or something. Yes.
Through the chair to the question, based on the information that you provided me, I can speak to that particular project because I'm aware of it. So this was a project called the I'm just trying to look for the exact title, but it had to do with the egress road in Janvier, and so the project was sort of approved after the fire. So that's where the 2017 came into play. Yes. And this particular project, we are looking for, as an organization, commitments from the federal and provincial governments to sort of co-fund that project. So that's where the provincial and federal part comes into play.
Yes, so how are we going to achieve, or what's going to happen? It's been 8 years of waiting, so
I
where are
can
we?
speak to that.
Thank you, Mayor.
We did last year meet with Chippewa Prairie First Nation in Janvier and met here, and they were looking for ISK funding. And we have, I think, the egress roads designed already, and it's just a matter of getting that funding from ISK and working with the provincial and federal government. So that is where it's at right now.
Okay, thank you, because I can only imagine that the cost would only go up, it won't go down, so so that's the concern there. Then there are some that it's 2024 and 300,000, and a few that are just about 65,000 and thereabout, and there hasn't been any movement on those projects, and I'm wondering why as well.
To the chair, do you have a particular project that you want to reference that I can give a response to?
One is for 300 grand. I think it's under rural before the system decided to mess me up. Yeah. I saw, okay, so the one is under urban and is page 310. And it's, when I read it, you will understand. It says, okay, no change to project. Okay, so this, the RES digital messaging displays is a corporate services, under corporate services for 65,000. And
through the chair on that particular question,
yes, so
this is the RES digital messaging display.
Yes.
There's $65,000 earmarked. This particular product is on hold. Just going to leave this for the ICAO, given where he used to sit. So.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Benjoko.
Yes.
It was an initiative or a thought put forward on the displays within the fire halls. However, further conversation, the IT department thought that a more broader approach to the organization. So that project was put on hold, and then to be incorporated into a broader project, bigger project.
Okay.
Of the similar scope.
Okay. Thank you. I can't find the other one. Is 300,000 approved in 2024 and 0 activities. So my major concern for those will be the cost might go up, will go up. I'm just wondering if we are holding them, pushing them because of lack of resources. We've had this conversation before, but just wondering if that's why those projects are not going forward.
Through the chair to the question or statement, potentially. I found a project here with $300,000 as the budget. It was approved for in the 2024 budget process.
So. Yes.
And we have, you said 0% spend. So one of the things that we're in the process of doing with that particular project is we have to work with the sponsor, and we develop the scope of work. So even though there's no particular spend shown here, that's not reflective of the work that's gone into the product so far. We work, within the PMO, within the delivery teams, we work to, achieve a certain amount of workload, work complete. And at that point, then we would go to market and hire a consultant at that point. So with this particular one, it's taken us a little longer because we want to make sure that we spend our money correctly with this one. With this particular project, it's along a particular trail, and that trail is also subject to be replaced. Okay. So we're looking at how to potentially synergize those two projects together, and thus save money at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Those are my questions.
Thanks, Councilor Joko. Councilor Grandison?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to chime in on one of the things that I've learned about many of these projects is there's an assumption sometimes that because it's in our books, we assume that it's a municipal responsibility. When in reality, sometimes it's not. It's our partnership with one of our rural communities or one of the First Nations to complete a project that's not necessarily a municipal responsibility.
And do you have a question, Councilor Grandison?
Yes. I apologize, Mayor. As you know, I'm a little out to lunch tonight. So my question is, it may be easier for council to understand for future if we could identify projects that are not necessarily municipal, but are collaborative in nature, so that we don't assume that it's our responsibility all the time. Because we often come at these projects like it's our job to get them done, and sometimes it's not. So can we have a method of identifying projects that are collaborative versus projects that have to be done versus et cetera? I don't know. Does that make any sense, or am I just rambling?
Through the chair to Councillor Grandison, I think that is a reasonable ask. I don't believe that there are a lot of those on here, but I can certainly think of a small handful. So as we go through preparing for the Q2, we'll add those to the notes. Is that acceptable?
It works for me. I just know that sometimes we assume that it's all our job, and sometimes it's not. So if you could do that, thank you. That would be helpful.
Okay.
Thanks, Councilor Grandison.
That's the question, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And can someone make a motion? Councilor Weigel?
That the 2025 Q1 capital project status report be accepted as information.
Thanks for the motion, Councilor Weigel, and thanks for the second, Councilor Joko. Councilor, any other debate, discussion, or comments? I'll call for a vote. Councilor Grandison's in favor. Councilor Doger? In favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Next up, we have the report on Sapper Creek Trail speed limit. Back to a councilor's motion. I'd like to invite Public Works to introduce the report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Keith Smith, and I'm the Director of your Public Works Division. At the May 20th, 2025 Council meeting, the following resolution was passed. That administration investigate raising the speed limit on Sapper Creek Trail, Highway 69, to 100 kilometers per hour and report back to Council by June 24th, 2025. Sapper Creek Trail is a 4-lane divided roadway from Highway 63 to Saline Creek Parkway, where it transitions into a 2-lane undivided roadway ending at the Altex Energy Linton facility. The twin segment from Mackenzie Boulevard to Saline Creek Parkway was designed and constructed for a speed limit of 80 kilometers per hour. For awareness, on October 15, 2015, Public Works received a council request to increase the speed limit on Sapper Creek Trail from 60 kilometers an hour to 80 kilometers an hour. The speed limit had been posted at 60 during the 4-lane construction. In November 2015, Public Works increased the speed limit to 70 kilometers from Highway 63 to Saline Creek Parkway, following the recommended practice of posting 10 kilometers an hour below the design speed. On February 10, 2016, a request to re-examine the speed limit was presented through the Land Planning and Transportation Committee. Public Works engaged a consultant to assess the speed limit, considering the geometric features of the existing roadway. As a result, the increased speed limit was to 80 kilometers per hour east of Mackenzie Boulevard to Saline Creek Parkway, with the following changes. Installation of advanced warning signals before the traffic signals on all approaches along Separate Creek Trail to provide a dilemma zone protection. And a dilemma zone is a critical area where drivers approaching an intersection at the onset of a yellow light faces a difficult choice to stop or to proceed. Both poses risk. Installation of advisory signs of 70 kilometers per hour on all horizontal curves for both eastbound and westbound directions. In 2023, Public Works engaged a consultant to complete a safety audit on Separate Creek Trail. As this roadway remains within the urban service area and is located in a planned development zone, there was no recommendation to increase the speed limit. The current limit is already at its highest recommended for an urban divided arterial. Based upon previous studies, existing guidelines, how the road was engineered and construction, we recommend that the existing speed limit on Separate Creek Trail remain unchanged. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thanks, Director Smith. Do you have any questions for administration? Councilor Dogar?
Mr. Mayor, it's not a question, it is an observation.
Right now is questions. You can make observations and comments once there's a motion, Councilor Dogar.
Okay. Thank you. No question.
Okay. Does council have any questions? Can I have someone make the motion? Councilor Weigel?
That the existing speed limit on Separate Creek Trail remain unchanged.
Thanks, Councilor Weigel, and thanks for a second, Councilor Lavalley. Now, Councilor Dogar, you have comment? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have gone to airport dozens, hundreds of times, and every time I see everybody traveling in the car or in the trucks even, they go at the speed of 90, 100, 90, 100. Now I presented this motion, and why I presented, I was coming in the car at 90, and one of the truck and trailer passed me at about 100 or 110, approximate. Truck and trailer if goes 100 and 110, so, and I feel the 80-90% people do the violation. And you know, I know last time discussion, so there is some section from the province also, but province deals with the entire Alberta province. We have the jurisdiction, we have a discretion, so why not to avail that discretion? So no, it should not be, if you don't want to make it 100, make it 90 at least. So there's no violation, there's a lot of violation being done. Thank you.
Councilor Cardinal?
Thanks, Keith, for the presentation. Appreciate it. Dogar, just because somebody passed you speeding, you want to raise the speed limit?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling. That's what I'm telling. Everybody goes more than the speed limit. It's a double road and both ways. And there's no population in that. There's nothing, no construction in that.
Do you think it's safer to keep it at the same?
Your mic is off, Councilor Dogar.
Yes, I feel it is absolutely safe. It is not safe, it is absolutely safe. And curtailing it, people are compelled to do violations. You know, why not to do it? This is my point of view. Even you can wait and you can go also and you can see, follow some of the cars.
Well, today I drove the airport and I did the speed limit and I followed all the vehicles. There was nobody speeding.
Okay. You always follow the right thing. I know.
Not all the time. I'm not one to follow all the rules, but I know that it just increases the safety of the 4-lane highway that that has important intersections, lights, and you know, it's heavy traffic going through there because International Airport, aviation, Sapper Creek, laydowns for Acton, all those other companies. I think it's I think we're good where we're at, Dogar. I won't be supporting the motion. Thanks.
Thanks, Councilor Cardinal. Councilor Benjoko?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman, and thank you, Director Smith and your team. Thank you, Councillor Doga, for bringing this forward. You've now called the attention of every one of us to slow down and keep to the speed limit, including yourself, I hope. So I think sometimes we might think it's good to drive, or because it's free, the road is clear, but I'm sure there's always a reason, and thank you for bringing all those points forward. At the end of the day, is to keep everyone safe, so I would not be supporting that we make the change, especially given that if we make mistake, it might impact lives. Even one life is too dear. So thank you so much, and thank you, Councillor Doga.
Thank you, Councillor Bajoko. Councillor Weigel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make it clear, I'll be supporting the motion as it is, which would leave it the same. So just, we're all understanding the language, that if we vote for this, it leaves it at the existing speed. If we go against it, it looks to change. Just for clarity. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Weigel. I'll also be supporting this just in the interest of public safety. So with that, we'll call for a vote. And that's carried with one opposed. Thanks, Director Smith. Thanks everyone for participating in today's meeting. Just some sad news in Fort Chipewyan. Elder Rita passed away today. So Councillor Cardinal can probably help me with the Escomega? It's good, we're done. Ecose Mega?
From Rita.
Okay, Rita. Okay. So that's it for the evening's meeting. We're moving into in camera. Can someone make the motion to move in camera? Councillor Banjoko.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I move that we go in camera at 9:18 p.m. Moving to camera. We'll take 5 minutes break. Thank you.
And thanks for the second, Councillor Weigel. We'll call for a vote. That's carried unanimously. Okay, everyone, while they set up for in camera, we'll take a 10-minute recess.